good evening, it's Houndog Steve wishing you a very pleasant evening. And here we are with the continuing story of deception and interesting new words coming along, giving you indication that something might not be quite right about the whole situation. Anyway, we knew that there was going to be some kind of a setup for the boosters, and here we are. The inoculations, fancy that. Turns out they're not quite as effective as they thought they were, and their effectiveness falls off extremely quickly, and just around the 7-month mark. And there is a couple of things in this article which are very deceptive, and one particular word, and this is going to give you a little bit of help as to how I clue in to when something is really strange, because they love to introduce new words that really don't add anything to the situation, but they just pop right out of the blue, just like the word presumptive. As soon as I heard the word presumptive, I knew something strange was going on, and that's how they initially advertised this as our first presumptive case. Remember that? 18 short months ago. Anyway, it's interesting how they set up the narrative, they frame the narrative in this article, and so we can see that it is basically telling people that the inoculations are not effective. We're going to be moving into booster after booster, and that we are not going to be able to stop wearing masks or social distancing. And of course, the little piece that caught my eye in this article was the rates of fatalities. So, you know, that little sentence where they say, well, you know, the bright spot is that, you know, there are fewer hospitalizations and deaths. But, you know, let's take a look at this. We have virtually a 99.5 survival rate, a percentage survival rate. And even if you're over 70, that only drops to 94.5%. And here it is from the CDC, based upon Scenario 5, current best estimate for the IFR. Breitbart News confirmed the update age-specific survival rates: 0 to 19 years old, 99.9%, 20 to 49 years old, 99.98%, 50 to 69 years old, 99.5%, and 70 years old or older, 94.6%. And of course, Ron DeSantis had to post this on Twitter because he has been right all along. We need Ron DeSantis in Canada. So you are at a very low risk, you know, even if you contract this virus. So I really, this is the big question I've had all along, is, you know, they've known the survival rates for influenzas in general for years and years and years. And it always has been up around about the, you know, 99.5% survival rate, and that is why it was just seen as a seasonal irritant. And yes, I know I've said before, you know, yes, it is a tragedy when anyone dies for the individuals involved, but in the overall picture, you know, this is just a yearly phenomena that takes place, and we have learned to live with it until now. Anyway, let's go to this article and we'll do a quick read, and I'll come back and wrap up. Okie dokie, here we go. And this from RT. Drastic drop in CV inoculation effectiveness study. Well, fancy that. Interesting. I wonder if they asked permission to stick that needle in the eye of that skull. Seems like an interesting choice of location. 3 different CV shots, those are mainly available in the US and Europe, have shown a dramatic decline in efficacy over time. A study of nearly 800,000 Americans reveals. CV inoculation effectiveness against both infection and death was studied in 3 US-approved jabs: the Pfizer-BioNTech, the Moderna mRNA shots, and the Janssen viral vector. Having analysed data from 780,225 US veterans of different ages and sexes between February and October, researchers came to a disturbing conclusion. A disturbing. See, this is framing the narrative. It's a disturbing situation, a disturbing conclusion. Inoculation protection against CV infection dropped from 89.2% at its highest to a low of 13.1%, according to a joint study by the Public Health Institute, the Veterans Affairs Medical Center, and the University of Texas Health Science Center, published in the Science Journal on Thursday. Incidentally, if you can hear a crunching in the background, that is my dog gnawing on a bone. Please ignore it. While the effectiveness against infection in March was 89.2 for Moderna, 86.9 for Pfizer, and 86.4 for Janssen, by September there were three massive declines to 58%, 43%, and 13% respectively. And now that's quite a bit of difference. They're all in March, they're all up there in the 86s to 89%, but they picked the lowest one. Do you notice that? 58% is not really a huge drop, and 43% is, it's a big enough drop, there's no doubt about it, but they pick the 13%. And so again, this is framing the narrative. The emergence and dominance of the Delta strain of the virus during the time of the study may have played a role. Researchers said, adding that inoculation protection waned across all studied age groups. More than 26,000 positive PCR tests occurred in some 498,000 fully inoculated veterans. The authors said the pattern of breakthrough infection shows a worrisome temporal trend. Oh, a temporal trend? Now, why have I never heard people use the word temporal except in science fiction? A temporal rift, a rift in the present day time, that's all it says. It's a worrisome present trend. That's what they're really saying. But when they use the word like temporal, which I haven't heard them use before, my mind suddenly goes, whoa, red flags go up. It's like, whoa, wait, what the hell's going on here? Why would you use the word temporal? Why wouldn't you just say it's a worrisome trend, which it is. if you're an inoculation manufacturer. While the analysis covers 2.7% of the US population, other domestic and international studies have shown significantly waning efficacy. On a brighter note, inoculation effectiveness against hospitalization and death remained high. Well, that's as we said, because you got a 99.5% survival rate. Duh. Okay, yeah, that's pretty obvious, isn't it? But again, you see, they're trying to tie in the use of the inoculation and its effectiveness against hospitalization and death when it's really not true. You weren't at that great a risk to begin with. As breakthrough infections, hospitalizations and deaths continue to emerge in fully inoculated people, there is an urgent need to reinstate multiple layers of protection such as masking and physical distancing, even among inoculated persons, the scientists warn. So there you go. It's going to be never-ending, and you're still going to have to wear that stupid mask, and you're still going to have to physical distance. So they're setting you up. And you know why these dickweeds do that? Or educated idiots, as I call them? They do it because they can't resist showing off. They can't resist. They're intellectual narcissists, and they can't resist showing you that you are dumber than they are. And so that's why it's one of their clues. You see that they're showing off. That they're trying to impress you with how well they think and how well spoken they are. Believe you me, when you see that happen, when you see words like temporal come up, or presumptive, or words that suddenly spring out of nowhere, you start reading real closely, because there is a trick afoot. So do you see how they're setting you up for somewhere between November and January? All of these early shots will have run out, and you'll be required to take a booster shot. And of course you will have the app on your phone. And this is going to be, as I've said before, maybe I sound like a broken record, I probably do to some of you, but this is going to be a never-ender, and I think it bears repeating. Because I think there's an awful lot of people out there who haven't got this yet, that this is going to be a never-ending situation of booster shots and flu shots and everything you can think of shots. Now we're coming up with, the Marburg virus. We'll have to get shots for that, and there are malaria shots now, and of course that happens to be an mRNA inoculation. So you know, if you don't realize this by now, this is a trap, and this article is basically setting you up for the next phase, so that you will continue to get your inoculations and you won't question why you're still social distancing and wearing that stupid face diaper. God damn it, take that thing off. It doesn't do any good whatsoever. And I hate to say this, but you look dopey in it, okay? Up to you. Anyway, if you enjoyed that, please like, comment and subscribe below. And in the meantime, this is Houndog Steve wishing you a very pleasant evening, and we'll talk very, very shortly. You take care now. See ya. Bye.